So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with our game Merchants of Magic. It's a roll and write game where every round you roll dice. You use 2 of those dice to fill in circles on your sheet. As you fill in circles, you unlock the ability to craft items and learn enchantments. And then the sort of fun thematic thing about it is that these cards in front of you represent customers looking for particular things. And we all know how fickle customers can be.
Yes.
So if at the end of the round you haven't fulfilled their order, the cards rotate clockwise and they go on to the next shop. And obviously you're competing to make the most gold. You know, what else would a merchant do? Sure. Dangerous Business is actually going to collect several different expansions that the designer has made. It's very modular, adds variability and modularity. You can mix and match and include some of this or all of it. You can play with all of it as well. So I'm just going to go over some of the modules themselves. The first module I like to talk about is why all these creatures are busting through your doors. In this game, we have changed your sponsored adventurer to a sponsored adventurer board. It works very similar to the original game, but every time, once you unlock the enchantment, obviously the Fire Sorceress wants the fiery enchantment and fiery items, and then every item that you make that's on her list adds to her combat skill.
Oh.
Once her combat skill is high enough to start defeating the monsters terrorizing the town, you can start using them to trigger these abilities and setting up combos to fill in your sheet more. Because the sponsored adventurer sort of represents your loyal customer and adventurer who's a pioneer of your shop and helps promote it, an influencer, if you will, in fantasy times. And then the new thing we've added is obviously the first person to get their adventure up to the top can beat the big bad boss for a big point score at the end. And then after that, the first person who defeats that gets the big points, then you flip it over, and anybody else who gets that high just gets to fight one of the lowly minions. So that module is easily added or removed from the game. Another thing we're adding to the game is a new phase to the game after you roll dice. This game's always been a simultaneous play game, so you roll dice, everyone fills in their sheet at the same time. Keeps the play time well under 45 minutes, no matter you have 2 or 8 players. But we're adding a new phase where we have these action cards, and during that phase, everyone chooses an action. And the actions we have some simple ones. We have simple things like brew a potion. So we had potion tokens in the original game. We'll have a bag you randomly draw potions from now. You still get them the same way, and you can get an extra potion during this phase. But we've always had 3 colors of potions, and we're actually going to lean into those colors. It's not just aesthetic anymore, because you can claim a potion recipe from the board. There are 8 potion recipes in the game. They're based on the 8 enchantments in the game that you can learn, but you only ever play with 4. And what you do here is you reserve a powerful potion which requires a specific combination of colors to cast, or affects different dice based on the color potion you use to spend it. And you'll take this potion recipe, and then if you have the matching potions, if I had 2 red, I could then spend it at a given time to do a much more powerful effect than just the dice modification that potions typically do. In the base game, you can spend a potion to modify a dice plus or minus 1. Now I can spend potions to use any dice in the crafting section. So I can get the big numbers on a d6.
That's awesome.
I've got the Drought of the Dwarves. I'm now a good craftsman, for a turn. The other thing you can do, and one of the things people, some of the critiques of the original game was when you fulfill these orders in the game, you fulfill them, you score the points, and then a new order is drawn randomly to you, and you flip it over. In the original game, we had these high-scoring double enchantment items and bundled items in that deck, and you could just luck into big points. That's no longer the case. We've taken those out. We're calling them advanced orders. And now you must advertise to get those big spenders into your shop. So you can advertise and start reserving certain customers, keep them in your shop, advertise for them to come into your shop. But if you don't fulfill this order by the end of the game, each reservation you take is negative 2 points that you don't fulfill at the end of the game. So
Interesting.
You can reserve up to 3, but if you're just reserving them to spite your other merchants, those customers are going to be very angry at the end of the game that they didn't get their item that you had. And then lastly, we have the Entice card, which you can play with or without this card, but if you like a little more player interaction, you can steal customers and entice them to come to your shop because you know you can fulfill that item and swap things in the line. Again, these all sort of cost potions to do, so that's why we're leaning a little heavier into the potions that we have in the original game. But that is Dangerous Business. It's coming to Kickstarter late September, early October of this year. And it'll be the first time that Merchants of Magic is actually on Kickstarter, even though it's already been out. It was one of the only games we've ever done straight to retail. So the designer, when I was talking to him, he wants his own shot at a Kickstarter, so we're going to give him, we're going to see what people think of his game. So he's excited for that.